After Lil Jeff was killed, many people pointed fingers at Trap City Rob. And now it looks like they might have been right, because he just slipped up revealing details about Jeff's.
I think that I was like, damn, it's 6 out there, you know? Mm-hmm. Crazy.
And that's just the start, because what he said next could be the very thing that gets him locked up again. Let me break it down. How Rob Coleman got his get back. When Bloodhound Lil Jeff got his wig split on that hot June day in 2024, the whole Chi knew somebody had finally stepped to one of the most feared young crashers in the city. And the name on everybody's lips was Trap City Rob, also known as Rob Coleman. The investigation into Jeff's death was smoother than a fresh pair of Jordans compared to most Chicago street beefs. The CPD's investigation began immediately after the shooting, which was reported around 3:30 p.m. on June 8, 2024, with officers arriving to find Lil Jeff deceased from multiple gunshot wounds. When the boys in blue rolled up, they found a scene that told the whole story without needing snitches or street gossip to fill in the blanks. Surveillance video from the trap house captured a chase. Lil Jeff and associates pursuing the wounded man into the residence, followed by gunfire. This footage leaked online shortly after, fueling public speculation. That camera footage was worth more than any witness statement. It showed clear as day that Jeff came hunting, but ended up being the prey. The streets don't lie when everything's caught in 4K. The legal game moved faster than a trap house raid for once. By December 2024, all murder-related charges were dropped due to insufficient evidence and arguments of mutual combat, a legal concept in Illinois, where both parties engaged.
But with a lack of solid evidence, he was ultimately released. Rather than boasting about it, he seems more focused on moving forward.
Go ahead, yes.
He's someone I don't want to talk.
You don't want to talk?
Yeah. I Trap Rob, what you on, gang?
What you on, gang?
You know, shit, we cool.
Real recognized real. And Rob's response showed he understood the difference between handling necessary business and being a clout-chasing demon like Jeff. What really set the streets buzzing.
And if you see that documentary, you'll see I kind of break down that, like, after Jeff got killed, this whole movement of, like, Unk Gang formed, of this older member that took out Jeff.
The young bulls started showing respect to the OGs again. Understanding that all that wild energy ain't worth nothing if you don't have the wisdom to survive your own moves. Rob's approach to the aftermath showed why he was cut from different cloth.
And, you know, that guy, Trap City Rob, he's been doing a lot of interviews, really talking, like, quite consciously about, you know, the life in the streets and sort of talking about how he wants to invest in his community and he doesn't condone the violence.
Instead of turning his situation into a rap career or social media flex, Homie used his platform to speak some real game about building up the community and getting money the right way. The difference between Rob's mindset and Jeff's approach.
And it's really interesting is that, like, the guy that killed Jeff has almost, or allegedly killed Jeff, has become almost like the perfect contrast to Jeff's generation, drugged out, we're trying to kill everybody, whereas Unk, he's just minding his business, you know? He didn't want to have to deal with Jeff trying to run in his house that day, but he stood on business, did what he had to do, but they're just trying to focus on money.
That's the realest comparison you can make. One side focused on chaos and destruction. The other side focused on securing the bag and protecting what's theirs. The legal precedent Rob's case set was major for cats in similar situations across the hood. The dismissal aligns with Illinois precedents where mutual combat or self-defense leads to drop charges, especially if both parties are armed and engaged voluntarily. This gave legitimacy to the idea that if somebody brings the beef to your doorstep with guns blazing.
This Bloodhound Q50 dude, the guy on the screen over there, he was the last surviving that was popular. Of course, there was more homies, but, like, you know, the popular dudes that came out of this Bloodhound collective, he was the last one that was surviving. Lil Scoom passed away. You had Jeff, who passed away.
When your whole squad getting smoked one by one, that should tell you something about the path y'all chose to walk. What made Rob a hood legend wasn't just the body he caught, it was how he carried himself afterwards. Coleman released a diss track in February 2025, but this did not prompt legal action, showing that he could engage in the culture without losing his mind or his freedom in the process. That's the difference between a calculated player and a wild crash out.
Actually, nah, I don't want to play nobody's death. Nah, I'm good. I'm good. But anyway, or maybe I don't have to play when he gets shot. Yeah, I don't got to play with it. Okay. So they're going to kill somebody. which is crazy.
Even the internet personalities who'd been covering his moves started questioning whether they should be platforming real violence like it was entertainment. The internet groupies and Reddit disciples showed their true colors.
Is the legions of kids on Reddit who are really like worshiping.
Yeah, they look at King Von as one and Lil Jeff as two. That's a fact. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's that I know that act like Lil Jeff not dead. Like the way they love him and the way they will repost of him like it's new. They're almost like acting like he's still alive.
These suburban kids treating street beef like it's Marvel movies while real people's lives getting destroyed in the process. Rob's handling of his legal victory demonstrated the kind of street intelligence that separates survivors from casualties. Instead of letting success go to his head or turning into another social media menace, he kept his focus on legitimate business and stayed out of unnecessary drama. This approach kept him breathing free while cats who celebrated too hard ended up back in the system or in the ground. Coleman may have remained charged with lesser weapons charges, but no confirmation of conviction exists, which tells you everything about how solid his legal position was.
He didn't want to have to deal with Jeff trying to run in his house that day, but he stood on business, did what he had to do, but they're just trying to focus on money. So the death of Jeff and everything that's gone on around this story has almost like it's created this proxy of what's going on in Chicago between the old heads and the younger kids that are just out of control.
It became a symbol for the eternal struggle between wisdom and recklessness, between building wealth and chasing clout. By August 2025, Coleman appears to be alive and free from major charges related to the killing. Though the Chicago gang landscape remains volatile, his continued success serves as proof that sometimes the smartest move is to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And when the time comes to move, you move with purpose and precision. While Jeff's approach led to him getting his head bust at 19, Rob's measured game allowed him to neutralize a serious threat, beat the case, and come out stronger than before. In the ruthless mathematics of street survival, that type of flawless execution is rarer than an honest politician and more valuable than any chain or clout could ever be. How Jeff walked into his own funeral. June 8, 2024 was supposed to be just another day in the trenches for bloodhound Lil Jeff, but the young demon had no idea he was about to walk into the most deadly setup of his short, violent life. This is the real story of how a routine drill mission turned into a body bag and how the hunter became the hunted in the most brutal way possible on Chicago.
Well, video of the shooting just came out. It turns out Lil Jeff died while on a drill trying to kill one of his ops.
The footage that would eventually surface told the whole story. Jeff came hunting, but ended up being the main course at his own Last Supper. To understand how this deadly chess match played out, you got to know the real deal about the beef between Bloodhound and Trap City that had been simmering for over a year. Trap City is described as a trap drug sales-oriented collective focusing on street-level operations rather than music or large territorial wars with older members who provide structure and younger affiliates. While Jeff's crew was out here moving like wild young savages, Trap City was operating like a real organization with structure, discipline, and most importantly, seasoned veterans who knew how to handle problems permanently. The man who would ultimately put Jeff in a box was Rob Coleman, a street-smart OG who went by various aliases, including IT Trap Rob, Big Rob, and Trap City Rob. Coleman, believed to be in his 20s or early 30s based on descriptions as an older figure relative to Lil Jeff, has a criminal history, including prior arrests at the same location for weapons-related offenses. This wasn't some greenhorn trying to make his bones. This was a seasoned player who understood the game on levels that Jeff's youth and recklessness prevented him from seeing. Coleman's background is tied to street life in Chicago's trap scene, with reports of him operating out of a trap house at 66th Roads, a known spot for drug sales and gang activity. The 6,600 block of South Roads wasn't just random coordinates on a map. It was Rob's kingdom, his fortress, his home field advantage, where he knew every angle, every escape route, and every potential threat before it even materialized.
The truck got hit with Dracos over 7.62 shell casings. Now,
Yeah, man, tell they check on Q50, man. They didn't park this shit down there. The glue is not sweet, gang.
While this refers to later retaliation involving Jeff's homie Q50, it shows the level of heat both sides were bringing to these confrontations. Ain't nobody playing patty cake out here. What makes June 8th so legendary in Chicago street lore is how the whole deadly encounter got captured on surveillance cameras.
So I think this is the part where he's chasing it down. So he's chasing it down to kill him. Anyway, I don't want to give these any tips on how to kill people, but... Okay, so I think this is the guy that they were trying to kill. You see the guy that just run past? Yeah, so he's like, I'm out.
The video doesn't lie. It showed Jeff in full predator mode, hunting his prey with deadly intent. The footage reveals a sequence of events that started as a typical drill operation, but quickly turned into Jeff's worst nightmare. Lil Jeff reportedly arrived at the location as the aggressor, possibly armed, leading to a shootout described by some as mutual combat. Jeff and his shooters rolled up to traps.
Right? And then is this Lil Jeff? So he's trying to kill him. Like, this is like real life GTA. And when he tries to kill him, supposedly somebody emerges from the house and was like, you think we ain't spawned with a gun too? And shoots him.
The comparison to a video game might sound casual, but it perfectly captures how surreal and disconnected from normal reality these street wars had become, except there's no respawn button in real life. Jeff found himself in the absolute worst tactical position any aggressor could imagine. He was deep in enemy territory, facing defenders who knew every inch of their turf, and he had basically announced his intentions by chasing his target into what turned out to be a fortified trap house. Video footage circulating online purportedly shows the moment of the shooting with Lil Jeff being hit multiple times. 19 shots reported. 19 shots ain't no warning.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then his mans and them, his drill buddies, his teammates, you know, they were like, I guess we pick you up when you respawn at the hospital. We're out. They did.
Jeff's homies, faced with that overwhelming return fire, made the smartest decision they'd made all day. They got ghost and left their leader to face the consequences of his own aggression. The crime scene aftermath painted...
Damn! Look how many bullets! These are casings. 1, 2, 3, 4. Jesus Christ.
No suspects in custody. A large number of shell casings were located at the crime scene.
The physical evidence told the story of a fierce battle that left Jeff with absolutely zero chance of survival. Rob Coleman's immediate response to the situation demonstrated everything that separated him from Jeff's chaotic approach. Instead of jumping on social media to celebrate or make threats, Coleman kept quiet and let his lawyer do the talking. Coleman provided his account in post-incident interviews on social media, claiming the beef began when Lil Jeff stole a chain from his homie and framing the shooting as self-defense. When he did speak, it was measured, factual, and focused on the truth rather than braggadocio. The legal implications were complex, but ultimately favored Coleman's version of events. Coleman was arrested shortly after the incident, initially facing charges including first-degree murder and armed habitual criminal offenses.
And for his enemies, his death was a cause for celebration.
The celebrations from Trap City and other ops showed just how much terror Jeff had been spreading, and how many people were relieved to see him finally get his comeuppance. The fundamental difference between Jeff's flashy social media-driven approach and Rob Coleman's old-school professionalism became crystal clear through this situation. Jeff had built his reputation on loud displays of violence, constant online flexing, and public intimidation tactics. Rob represented the traditional street code.
According to Chirac experts, the death of Lil Jeff was linked to the attempted setup of a man named Trap City Rob.
You can see on the video somebody outside like talking to their girlfriend or, you know, talking to a person who they just interacted with. And you see him run down and chase the guy in the house. And then you see him flying back off the porch.
The analysis reveals how Jeff's aggressive tactics played directly into what might have been a carefully orchestrated defensive strategy. The irony wasn't lost on anyone who had...
So, you know what I mean? What do you expect from the streets? But they're saying that so he got killed Supposedly he was trying to get his 8th body.
The young savage who had allegedly sent multiple people to meet their maker was killed while attempting to add another notch to his belt, creating a kind of poetic justice that his enemies celebrated and his fans struggled to process. As word of Jeff's death spread through social media and across the South Side, it marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. The young demon who had terrorized his ops and built a career on alleged violence had finally run into somebody who wasn't intimidated by his reputation or deterred by his threats. Rob Coleman had accomplished what many thought was impossible. He had permanently silenced bloodhound Lil Jeff. And he did it in a way that would ultimately be declared legally justified by the system itself. Jeff's rise to infamy. Before Robert Coleman sent him to meet his maker on that fateful June evening, Jeffrey Lamar Harris Jr., better known to the streets as Bloodhound Lil Jeff, had built one of the most terrifying reputations in modern Chicago drill history. This is the story of how a young cat from the East Side transformed himself into a walking nightmare, a self-proclaimed demon who turned murder into entertainment and death into social media content. Bloodhound Lil Jeff was a Chicago-based drill.
Bloodhound Lil Jeff is a rapper and gang member from the east side of Chicago. He officially jumped off the porch at 18 years old.
By the time he was legally an adult, Jeff was already deep in the game. The transformation from regular shorty to street demon didn't happen overnight. Like most young cats in Chi-Town's most dangerous blocks, his journey was shaped by circumstances beyond his control and choices that would define his brief but legendary run. His rough upbringing led to him gravitating towards the streets. And when Jeff was just 14 years old, his house was shot up and a bullet flew by his face, nearly hitting him. That close call with death seemed to flip a switch in the young bull's mind. Instead of scaring him straight, it made him fearless in the most dangerous way possible. Jeff was a member of Drill City/B Bloodhound, which claims the area of 79th in Maryland, and they beef with BKN Trap City, Timma Train Mob, and 800. But Jeff wasn't content being just another soldier in the crew. He had bigger ambitions, darker aspirations that would separate him from his peers and make him one of the most feared young crashes in the city's brutal hierarchy. What made Jeff different from other young savages was his alleged body count and his willingness to brag about it. Community discussions, hip-hop media, and social media frequently attribute 11 murders, bodies to him, making him a figure comparable to
I'm taking the killing school. Class start next week. You gotta at least have 2 bodies though. For I ain't coming with no. If you ain't got shit, I can't work with no beginners folk. You gotta at least have 2. You gotta have a minimum of 2 of them to come to school.
This wasn't typical street bragging. This was a young man who had completely detached from normal human emotions, turning murder into a curriculum and death into a prerequisite for his twisted educational system. The beef that would ultimately lead to Jeff's demise started brewing in early 2023 over some jewelry drama that might seem petty to outsiders, but represents everything in street culture. The conflict traces back to early 2023 when Lil Jeff allegedly stole or ran off with a chain belonging to a Trap City member variously named as Carter 6 or Val. In the hood, taking somebody's chain ain't just theft. It's the ultimate disrespect that demands blood in return. Jeff's most notorious alleged crime would cement his reputation as one of Chicago's most dangerous young demons. On January 26, 2024, the double murder of 2 high school students, Montario Monty Williams, 16, and Robert Lil Rob, 16, outside Innovations High School in Chicago's Loop shocked the entire city and put Jeff's name in newspapers across the country. The broad daylight execution of 2 teenagers showed that Jeff and his crew had no boundaries, no lines they wouldn't cross. What made the situation even more disturbing was Jeff's complete lack of remorse about the alleged murders. This chilling confession, delivered with the casual tone of someone discussing the weather, revealed just how far Jeff had fallen from any semblance of normal humanity. The alleged murders weren't random acts of senseless violence. They were calculated revenge for perceived disrespect. The motive was rooted in an attempted robbery where Jeff was allegedly robbed by BKN members for his watches, which made him want to get back at them as soon as possible. Monty and Little Rob, both teenagers with their whole lives ahead of them, allegedly paid the ultimate price for their crew's decision to test Jeff's gangster. Jeff's seamless transition between alleged street murders and rap stardom represented something new and terrifying in drill culture. As he transitioned into music, his notoriety only fueled his buzz with his earliest tracks like Can't Beat Us surfacing about 2 years ago. His music wasn't entertainment. It was evidence, confession, and threat, all wrapped up in heavy bass and hard drums. The young savage's approach to self-incrimination was unprecedented in its boldness and stupidity. The death of Zoni seemed to push Jeff completely over the edge, transforming him from a dangerous young criminal into something far more unpredictable and lethal. By 2024, Jeff had evolved into something that transcended typical gang violence. He represented the worst aspects of social media culture meeting street savagery, a young man who seemed to have no fear, no boundaries, and no concern for human life, including his own. His alleged crimes fit into Chicago's drill ecosystem, where beefs with sets like NLMB, BKN, Jungle, and Trap City led to cycles of retaliation. But Jeff wasn't content being just another participant. He wanted to be the one who ended all the cycles permanently. The combination of his alleged criminal activities and his growing rap career created a perfect storm of fame and infamy. His music videos started to get hundreds of thousands of views. And in drill music, when someone is believed to be a real killer and actually living their raps, fans start to gravitate towards them. This wasn't just street credibility. This was celebrity status built on a foundation of alleged corpses, making Jeff both more popular and more dangerous with each viral moment. As the summer of 2024 heated up, Jeff was sitting on top of his twisted version of success. He had interviews scheduled, potential record deals on the table, and a growing fan base that hung on his every post and track. But in Chicago's merciless streets, success often breeds its own destruction. And the higher your star rises, the bigger the target on your back becomes.